Throughout history, crushing debt has never been repaid. It's always erased, and the same pattern is unfolding right now in 2025. Every time history has faced crushing debt, the pattern repeats with almost mechanical precision. Debts once considered manageable spiraled out of control. Leaders assured repayment. Mathematicians calculated impossibilities. Yet, every time debts were wiped out, ordinary people lost their savings, and enormous wealth transfers occurred. Transfers so vast that today's billionaires would appear modest by comparison. In 2025, global debt has reached an eye-watering 335% of GDP. That's roughly $300 trillion compared to $98 trillion in annual global output. The US alone owes $36 trillion, with student loans at $1.7 trillion. Auto loans $1.6 trillion, credit card debt $1.2 trillion, and corporate debt at $11 trillion. Mathematically, this debt cannot be repaid. We are currently in stage 3 of a 6-stage debt cycle that has unfolded 5 times before. Stage 4, 5, and 6 always follow, with the inevitability of a clock ticking. How the reset occurs is the only uncertainty: hyperinflation that obliterates currency, a government-imposed jubilee that cancels debts, or war that destroys enough economic infrastructure to make obligations meaningless. This is not prophecy, it's pattern recognition. By examining history, we can see what has happened before, why it's happening now, and what it implies for your savings, your debts, and your assets. First, it's essential to grasp what a debt jubilee is. It's not a policy choice, it's a mathematical necessity. A debt jubilee cancels debts, fully or partially, across an economy, not out of generosity, but because the alternative is complete systemic failure. Debt represents a claim on future production. Borrow 100,000 and you promise to generate enough economic output to repay it plus interest. Governments do the same on a massive scale. But there is a limit. When debt outstrips the economy's productive capacity, when interest consumes all growth, when new debt is needed just to service old debt, the system becomes a Ponzi scheme. And like all Ponzi schemes, collapse is inevitable. Consider the numbers: global GDP grows roughly $2.7 trillion per year at 3% growth. Global debt, however, demands $9 trillion in annual interest at 3% average rates. There simply isn't enough value being produced to cover the interest. At this point, debt must be eliminated, not restructured, not refinanced, but erased. History shows only 3 ways this occurs: hyperinflation, where money loses value and creditors are wiped out; jubilee, where debts are canceled and financial systems are reset; or war, where destruction renders debts unenforceable. This cycle always follows 6 stages. Stage 1: credit expansion creates an illusion of prosperity. Easy borrowing makes economies appear strong. Wealth and consumption soar, but it's borrowed from the future. Ancient Rome 1030 AD exemplifies this. Patricians lent freely, public works were financed through debt, and senators competed in lavish spending. Roads, aqueducts, and games created the illusion of wealth, yet real productive growth remained limited. Stage 2: debt reaches unsustainable levels, generally above 250% of GDP. Growth slows as resources are diverted from productive investment to debt service. Rome under Tiberius, medieval Europe in the 14th century, France before the Revolution, and post-World War I Germany all reached this stage. Private and sovereign debt exceeded the economy's ability to generate the output needed to pay it. Lending froze, interest rates spiked, and economic activity stalled. Stage 3: interest payments consume all growth. At this point, the system is trapped. New borrowing only deepens the problem. Ancient Rome, medieval Europe, revolutionary France, Weimar Germany, and the modern US all experience this stage. In the US today, interest payments approach $1 trillion annually, while real GDP growth is 500–700 billion. Globally, $300 trillion in debt at 3% interest requires $9 trillion annually, yet the economy produces only $2.7 trillion in new output. Stage 3 is where we are right now. Stage 4C: the debt becomes mathematically unpayable. Recognition spreads. Everyone with basic arithmetic sees the numbers don't work. Ancient Rome saw the elite exposed as insolvent. Medieval Europe saw England unable to repay Italian bankers. France in 1789 realized tax revenues could not cover debts. Weimar Germany's hyperinflation demonstrated the impossibility of repayment. Today, in the US, the federal debt plus unfunded liabilities is over 320% of GDP. Globally, debt totals 335% of GDP. The realization is spreading: these debts cannot be paid. Stage 5: political pressure for a reset builds. Debtors demand relief, creditors resist, and governments are caught between impossible positions. Rome's plebeians rioted. Medieval European debtors demanded release. The French Revolution erupted over debt conflicts. Germany in 1923 saw strikes and extremist movements promising debt cancellation. Today, both left and right are calling for debt relief. Student loan forgiveness, wealth taxes, mortgage restructuring, even sovereign debt relief for developing nations. Governments respond with partial measures, but pressure continues to mount. Stage 6 reset arrives. Debt is erased, not repaid. Methods varied: hyperinflation, jubilees, or war. Ancient Rome partially bailed out debtors and debased currency. Medieval Europe saw debts vanish through the Black Death. Revolutionary France printed worthless currency. Weimar Germany hyperinflated debts away. Post-war Europe negotiated a 50% debt reduction. The method changes, but the outcome is consistent. Creditors lose, savers are destroyed, wealth is transferred, and the economy must rebuild. Looking at modern times, Stage 1, credit expansion, occurred 1980-2008 with mortgages, student loans, and corporate debt booming. Stage 2 hit post-2008 as global debt surged past 250% of GDP and continued climbing to 350% by 2022. Stage 3 is ongoing. Interest payments now consume the growth that would otherwise service debt. Stage 4 is emerging, the recognition that debts cannot be repaid. Stage 5 is forming as political pressure intensifies. Stage 6, the ultimate reset, is inevitable. What does this mean for ordinary people? During a reset, wealth is lost in three main ways. Cash savings are devalued by inflation. Fixed incomes lose purchasing power, and creditors are repaid in devalued currency. Conversely, debtors benefit, repaying obligations in worthless money, and owners of hard assets, real estate, commodities, productive businesses, preserve wealth. History shows that those who understand the pattern position themselves ahead of the reset, avoiding cash and bonds, holding tangible assets, and sometimes strategically leveraging fixed-rate debt that will be eroded by inflation. To prepare, minimize cash holdings to only what is needed for short-term expenses. Convert to hard assets that maintain intrinsic value. Consider fixed-rate debt strategically. Monitor inflation and bond yields for early warning signs, and act quickly as historical patterns accelerate toward conclusion. From ancient Rome to post-war Europe, 5 times in 2,000 years, debt reached unpayable levels and was reset. Each time, the method varied, but the 6-stage pattern was consistent. Today, global debt is 335% of GDP, interest consumes all growth, and we are transitioning from Stage 3 to Stages 4 and 5. Stage 6 is inevitable. The question is whether you will recognize the pattern before it unfolds or hold cash, bonds, and savings as the reset wipes their value. History is clear: debt is never truly repaid. It is erased through hyperinflation, jubilees, or war, transferring wealth from creditors to debtors, from savers to hard asset owners, from those who trusted promises to those who understood the math. The cycle has repeated 5 times over the last 2,000 years, and today it is happening again. The 6 stages: credit expansion, debt accumulation, debt trap, recognition of impossibility, political pressure, and ultimate reset unfold with the inevitability of gravity. Understanding this pattern is crucial. Those who see it coming can survive and thrive, while those who ignore it risk losing everything. We are in Stage 3, moving into 4 and 5. Stage 6 is coming. Recognizing it now allows you to act, protect your wealth, and position for survival. History is repeating, and the math does not lie.